Hi, my name is Nicole. Today I'm working with Wellspring Community Hospital. Wellspring Hospital has two mission centers, the medicine and surgery departments. These departments are supported by housekeeping, administration, and financial services. Today I want to use a step-down allocation method to find out how much the cost of the support services should be attributed to each of the medicine and surgery departments. In the step-down cost allocation, the cost of housekeeping services is based on the cost driver of square feet, and the cost drivers for both administration and financial services are the number of employees. Also, the housekeeping department is first in the cost allocation sequence, followed by administration, and finally financial services. Using this information, I'll be able to calculate the full operating costs for each, the medicine department and the surgery department at Wellspring Community Hospital. I'm going to use Excel today to solve this problem. In order to do this step-down allocation method to figure out how much of each support service the mission centers are responsible for, I've gotten this information from Wellspring Community Hospital. So they've provided me with the number of square feet in each department because that's the cost driver for housekeeping. They've also given me the number of employees in each department in administration and all of the other services, because the number of employees is the cost driver for administration and financial services. When I'm looking at these, I don't need to count the amount of square feet in housekeeping because it is only counting how much of the service the other departments are using. So I'm going to get rid of this. Since administration is the second in the sequence of the step-down allocation, there's no need to account for administration's own employees or the employees in housekeeping because we are going to allocate the cost of housekeeping and then housekeeping is out. We don't count them anymore. In financial services, I just need to count the number of employees in medicine and in surgery because financial services is the last part of the costs to be allocated. And we don't count financial services own employees or the employees in housekeeping and administration because we assume those costs have already been dealt with. So I'm going to take the totals at the bottom here for the parts that are left. I've got the total for housekeeping of square feet, and then I can take the sums of the other columns as well to figure out what the totals will be for housekeeping and administration. In order to calculate the allocation rates, I'm going to take the total amount of direct costs, which was also provided to me. So the direct costs for housekeeping is $200,000, and I want to find out how much the other departments are paying for it. So I'm going to divide that $200,000 by the number of square feet, because that's the cost driver, for the other departments. So I've already gotten rid of the square feet in housekeeping, so I just need the square feet of the other departments. I've got the allocation rate for housekeeping. I can't calculate the allocation rates for administration or financial services yet because I have to go all the way through the process with housekeeping first, as it's the first one in the sequence. And what's going to happen is the costs for each department will change because I'm going to add the allocated piece of housekeeping to the direct costs here. I'll show you what I mean here. I know that facilities services, so housekeeping in other words, the indirect allocation for facility services is going to be negative whatever the direct cost is because we're allocating away the full amount. We want to do this so that when we add the rest of the allocated amounts, the indirect allocations, we want the number at the bottom to zero out to make sure that we've allocated the full $200,000 and not more. So to allocate part of housekeeping costs to administration, I'm going to take the allocation rate. I'm going to lock that because it's going to get dragged down through the rest of the sheet. And I'm going to multiply it by the number of square feet in that department. I'm multiplying it by the square feet because that's the cost driver behind the allocation of housekeeping. So $10,000 of housekeeping is going to administration. I can drag this formula down since I locked the cell with the allocation rate, and it gives me the different amounts here for the amounts that are going to be allocated to the different areas. Now I can find out what the amount I have to allocate for general administration is by taking the sum of the direct costs of administration and the amount that was allocated from housekeeping. So the total amount that I have to allocate is $410,000 for administration. In order to do that, I'm going to calculate the allocation rate. So the allocation rate is going to be the amount of the administration. I put a negative sign there to cancel out the negative sign here. And then I'm going to divide that by the number of employees that we're spreading this amount over. So the $410,000 due to administration is going to be spread out over 5,000 employees in financial services, medicine, and surgery. That gives me an allocation rate of $82 per employee. So now I'm going to allocate it out. So the amount that will be allocated to financial services for administration will be equal to the allocation rate, and lock that, multiplied by the number of employees in financial services. So financial services will be paying $8,200 for general administration. I'm going to drag this formula down, and again it zeroes out at the bottom, which means I've allocated the entire amount that I had to for general administration. Then I'm going to go over here and find out what the total amount I have to allocate for financial services is. So again, I'm going to take the negative sum of the direct costs plus the amount allocated from facility services plus the amount allocated from general administration. So I have to allocate $312,200 for financial services. I'm going to calculate the allocation rate by taking that $312,200 and dividing it by the number of employees in medicine and surgery. So the amount that's being allocated for financial services is being spread out over fewer employees than the amount that was allocated for administration, because we're not counting for the financial services employees anymore. So the allocation rate for financial services per employee is $63.71. So then I can go down here and take the allocation rate, lock it, and multiply it by the number of employees in each department. So the Department of Medicine pays $165,657 for the employees. And then we can drag down the formula there. So I know that I have done this right because all of the cells here at the bottom zero out. So that means I've allocated the full amount that I had to for each support center, not more and not less. And then it tells me here that the total costs, if I'm allocating the support center costs to the mission centers, the Department of Medicine is going to pay $1,484,857, and the Department of Surgery is going to pay $1,915,143. So now we've calculated how we would allocate the support center costs to the mission centers.